Oh, yeah. I mean, I am in the dwelling rate.
I got you. I'll take care of it.
I appreciate it.
All right, guys, everybody is gonna be live here. Everything, I'm real loud, we need to turn it down. But that's live picking you all up, and that'll be live picking you all up. Because apparently that was one of the complaints, is that they couldn't hear. Of course, I think they should be here if they wanna be here. That's my statement on that. It's kind of like church, if you don't wanna be there, then you're just gonna use it as an excuse to do it. But according to October, Governor Lee is stopping the electronic meetings supposedly the 27th or 28th of October. We'll go with it from there. Okay, I've got 5:31, so let's go ahead and start the workshop. First up on the agenda, we will go with Michelle and Kathy with our COVID update. Ladies, please. Mike, do they need a microphone?
Okay.
Okay.
All right, just to start off, just to give you a little update as far as what we're doing. Kathy and I both are working together. I'm the point of contact for the health department. Matthew McConaughey and I have become very best friends. So every time I get a call or whatever, I will immediately call Ms. Burgess and him, the two, and then we'll try to, Kathy's in a lot of, we'll work out, see what's new in the guidelines this week. So that's gone fairly smooth. I think that Emma Davis is the district lady, and we checked at Nashville a few times just to verify some things. So anyway, but so far so good. Mainly I'm documenting exposures, not anything here, so that's a good thing.
Can you tell them the great level that you're really, you know, that if we are dashboard, you can tell them about the dashboard?
Yes, I've got it on here.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. Keep reminding me because I'm gonna forget. But I'm documenting daily. The last probably 2 or 3 days, it's been eerily quiet. So I think that's a good sign. I'm also maybe I may have jinxed it. I'm keeping up with the current guidelines on CDC and the Department of Education as well. Those things are changing weekly. So I've about got their dates down, the days of the week when they start to try to change things. But anyway, also I'm providing the information to the health department as far as contact lists. So I've already prepared contact lists for different sectors. It could be a grade level, it could be cafeteria, whatever. I've got those ready to go if something occurs. So I work better if I've done things ahead. So hopefully I won't have to use those. Also, I'm updating the dashboard. Governor, that's what Ms. Burch was talking about. Governor Lee asked us to update that weekly. I do that every Monday. So I have access to that. So far, we're looking good on there. No alerts. I got on there this morning, updated that for 0 for across the board for us, because everything's been exposures. So we've had some quarantine for exposures, but that's been it. Also, we're meeting every Thursday. The phase committee is, and so just trying to gather the information and see where we are, the number of exposures, whatever. So we've been fortunate so far. So very, very fortunate. I'm trying to think if I've mentioned anything else. We're still in phase 3 as of last Thursday. So hopefully that will stay leveled out, keeping our fingers crossed. Do you have any questions? I can attempt to, I've made a notebook, I have everything in the notebook, so as soon as somebody's exposed and they have to be out, then I'm collecting documentation as far as they don't have to give me test results, but I just have to say, the parents have been super, and the staff, they've been super to offer without me even really asking. There's been a few that said, oh, I forgot, but they're providing that. So we can't get that from the doctor's offices, but they brought it into us. So they've been super to work with. No questions? I will say as well that we had talked about flu shots to try and get our staff immunized, but can you say that? I actually had a call from a local pharmacy that asked me, we've always used Cherokee because they've been on site. So they're not on site. So Justin Kickleiter had requested, and then Jan brought up too, that see if we could get something done. He's willing to bring a tent and set up on site. I think we're gonna put that outside of Kathy's clinic. They're prepared if there is any kind of reaction, because flu shots, you can't have reactions. So I'm gonna put it near Kathy so that she's got her clinic right there in case somebody would need to. But he assured me that they came equipped with the EpiPens if anything happens or goes wrong. And he's given me a chart. He's given me paperwork so the teachers can do that prior to. We get that filled out, and then he says it should not take more than 5 minutes. So he's also going to offer pneumonia and some others as well. So if anybody that wants to. So appreciate that. Yes, that's supposed to be September 28th. September 28th.
Are you going to open it up to children who just so bad that students?
We weren't going to this time. He said he would be willing to do it again if you prefer that we do for students.
I think it doesn't matter. I didn't know.
Right.
We talked about it.
Right. He did mention there may be a shortage of flu shots this year because of the high demand, but he actually already has those on site. So he's ready to go. I don't know. He assured me that our staff would be, he has plenty for that. So that's your preference.
Well, I mean, I can just speak that a lot of people will do it when they're doing their, of course, a lot of our students have already had their physicals.
Right.
Because they had to have them for football and cheer and volleyball, and they'll have to have them for basketball, and they've already had them for kindergarten. So most of them have already had that. I think it would be a good idea to attempt to set it up at a couple of weeks afterwards to see if we do. I mean, I don't want him to make a trip if we don't have the 10. Tell that 10 to go to the local or fast pace for the doctor. But I will tell you that Matthew is working with in the health department is working for the first weekend in November, a drive-through flu shot location. Now, we don't have a location yet. This is coming from the task force, but Matthew was announcing it because he and I have been talking back and forth about the flu shot. Couple of different, 3 or 4 different places they're looking at. And of course, it would be a community-wide effort to get nurses there, and get staffing there to do it and have. But different places have been knocked around, so I don't want to say any of those just yet because they've not been nailed down. But trying to do where we could do a drive-through where people do not even get really out of their car, they just open the door, get the shot, sit there for the required amount of time to make sure that there was no reaction, and then normally like you go to the allergy shots, whatever, they take sit there 20 minutes. So they would have an area that they could park in after they had it and go, and that would be staffed as well with a nurse in the vicinity in the event of needing a EpiPen. So that is in the works too, so keep your ears open for that.
Okay. They usually keep me updated if
Right.
there's anything like that, so I can
We
also
meet
send it out.
weekly, and when the numbers started dropping down, we thought about, I think it was even discussed, if we want to back down and go bi-weekly, but we think we need weekly still.
Great. Thank you all.
Thank you, lady.
It really helps, I want to say this, they did a great job to have one person that we send you to, that, so there's not three more people telling a different tale, because it's how you interpret things. So, I mean, Michelle and I keep, and Kathy communicate with each other, but really, I send everybody to them so they can be documented and given the instructions like they need to go home. And it's really come in handy, it helps a lot.
I've got Ms. Burchett on speed dial now.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else, ladies? Appreciate everything y'all doing. Okay, principal's report.
Okay. This past week, we officially passed the 4.5 weeks mark, so we are officially halfway through the first 9 weeks. Ordinarily at this time, our teachers would be doing an open house, but in-person things are sort of on pause for now, so we elected to do a virtual open house where teachers had meetings scheduled where parents could join by Zoom or Google Meet and just sort of get an introduction to what's going on in the classroom, what's going on in the grade level, and just sort of touch base with parents and give them the opportunity to do what would have ordinarily been an in-person event remotely. We're already halfway through the first 9 weeks, so that means we're already busy looking at what the second 9 weeks is going to look like. Early on in the year, in fact, before school started, we gave parents a choice, more or less, of having their child attend school in person or attend school as a virtual student. So we didn't feel comfortable with locking people in on that for an entire year or really even for an entire semester. So we agreed to sort of hold people to that decision for a 9-week period because we know things change, this virus changes, people's ability to do at-home learning changes. So we wanted to give them an opportunity to switch. That opportunity opens on Thursday this week, where there'll be a window from Thursday through Sunday where folks can either tell us they're going to stay the way they are, or they're going to flip-flop to the other path that they're not currently on. That will give us about 2 weeks to retool. I sort of personally anticipate there's going to be lots of changes. The only thing is we don't know what we're changing from and what we're changing to. We don't have those numbers yet. And those really are going to be key for us in staffing, in terms of what teachers are assigned to what students. It's going to be key to class assignments. It's going to be key to our schedule. There are going to be lots of things that will change as a result of what those numbers look like. So it's going to be a busy time for us here in the next several weeks on that front. We've noticed that communicating with parents obviously is very important when students are here, but when they're virtual, it's even more important. And we sort of struggled with how to do that. We're making lots of phone calls. We're corresponding by Dojo. I've started a little weekly video update that I'm doing on YouTube to just sort of keep people up to date with things going on here at school, athletic tryouts and deadlines and just need to know sort of things. I even threw a tech tip in there last week just to give people some useful knowledge, hopefully useful knowledge that they can use to get better at something. I know the last time we met was exactly the first day of school, so we were really kind of hanging out, finding out what school was going to look like. We didn't know. But now, a month in, I can pretty safely say that I feel like we've had a strong opening, particularly where safety and security and health are concerned. As you've heard from these ladies, I don't know that we could have asked for better in terms of an opening rollout. Teachers have worked hard, students and parents have worked hard and have been very accommodating for us. We knew it wasn't going to be perfect, but I think we've given it an awfully good shot as it stands right now. That's all I have.
I'll say if you've not had a chance to view the YouTube videos he's sending out, they're very good, they're very informational, and I appreciate it because I think a lot of people, I don't know how many have subscribed to it and are watching the views to it, but it's a lot of good information. Especially like the tech tip and walking them through how the lesson was, how to attach it and upload it. I thought that was very good for parents that may be struggling. So thank you.
Thank you.
Assistant Principal Justin?
A couple things for you. First off, in your package, you saw the Safe Schools budget. That was actually, you got a letter that just came today about the approval of that. So it got trimmed down a little bit this year, but about the same as usual. Got a few items we're looking to replace there. We got some new ones we're gonna start replacing. So we're gonna start with a set of those and then do some other stuff this year, then try to do anything next year. One of the bigger items there is a online app platform for emergency management. Allows us to do a lot of things, keep everything digital. That way, if we change it, we don't go back and buy new flip charts at $1,000 or $1,500 for the whole school. Go back and reglue or anything like that. We can just update online. Teachers will have access to that. First responders have access to that. And all the maps will go in there. And during like a fire drill or a real emergency, we can take attendance in real time. So like if Nurse Kathy has students, which is usually happens like a fire drill, the teacher doesn't have to freak out and know if we have that kid or not. They would mark them absent, and Nurse Kathy would go on and mark them as present with her. So it's a real nice little app. It's one that's supported by the state and by TOS. I've seen it in action at some of the events I've been to. Getting that going and getting it on our devices and allowing everybody to use it. We can do messaging during lockdowns. First responders go do messaging, tell people whatever they want to tell us when they get here. So we're looking forward to that. We received our first shipment of PPE, for teachers back at the end of August. And in September 1, the window opened to reorder for PPE for all. So I was able to order not just for teachers this time, but for custodians, assistants, and cafeteria workers. So we got more gloves, wipes, masks, and hand sanitizer on the way. I actually got an email this afternoon that it has shipped from the FEMA facility in Nashville, Murfreesboro, somewhere out there. And it'll be here probably end of the week, I'd say. It usually comes a couple days after I get that email. So that's a monthly thing. There was some concern a few weeks back because they said that FEMA was no longer going to help states with doing stuff like that. So I double checked with our state contact, but she said that the governor is the one that's made that pledge to provide PPE for all staff and teachers throughout the whole year. So that's not going on. That had no cost, right? I mean, that's, we had budgeted, I mean, everything we're getting is stuff we budgeted with the CARES Act. We bought some of it, so we're going to have a surplus, but that's okay because this won't be here forever. And we'll use the old stuff first and get rid of it. But that'll free up some money in the CARES Act too, which is a good thing. We can shift money around because we didn't spend all of our money on wipes and Germex and everything right away. We're going to order it in phases. Let the state, stepped up and decided to give us this stuff at no cost to us to help us stay open safely and to be able to stay sanitized and clean. So it's a big help. I mean, just the amount of money that rolls in on that truck, just for our district alone, it's got to be undertaking, and we appreciate them doing that for us because it does help offset some costs and one less thing for us to have to worry about. So, if there are questions about the budget, I can help you out there. Just going to do some replacing of some signs and things like that. And that's all I've got.
Say PPE one more time.
PPE, it's an acronym, I'll tell you that earlier. There's 62 acronyms. I was looking at.
Any questions about this?
PPE is a paper.
Okay, thank you. Federal programs, thing?
That's actually did a really good lead into mine because federal programs right now is all about budget. We got our final allocation about 2 weeks ago. Hopefully by the next meeting, you're gonna have the federal budget amendment plus amendments of all of the other things. So where he was talking about, because we got the PPE, that the CARES Act budget money could be used in a different way. We do have to do some amending on the CARES Act budget to show that. Justin and I also have gotten some more money, $40,000. He wrote the grant for it and I budgeted the money. I'll let him talk more about that. It's an LEA, tell me the name of it. It's a long name. Reopening and programmatic supports grant.
$40,000, like I said. Some of that money, we had used CARES Act money. We were able to take some of that money that would have been out of CARES Act and pay for it out of this grant. So once again, saving money out of CARES Act to buy additional things there. With the Title I money, one good thing that I can tell you that we just worked on today, during the opening, during the professional development week at school, we were able to give or provide 5 box light boards, the newest technology, the boards that we use in the meetings here for teachers. With our budget this year, we're going to be able to provide 10 more of those box light boards in an attempt to start changing our technology out. Some of our boards are very, very old, don't work as well as they should. When we did get those new box light, or when we did plan for those new box light boards, we have planned for the removal of the old boards and to put those old boards in other classrooms where there are currently no boards. So when we get these new boards, Justin and I are going to once again do a walkthrough, decide whose board may need updating with boards we take down, and still use the technology we have in other places where teachers don't have technology right now. So still increasing the amount of technology that we have in the school. We've also sent out some teacher surveys to see what teachers would like to see in their opening supplies at the beginning of the year. Since we have to budget a little different now, we have to budget. Every expense is approved by the state prior to spend. We're letting the teachers tell us some things that they need so that we can go ahead and make sure those items are budgeted. We will also be having a Title I meeting. It's going to be Zoom this year. It's a requirement by the state that we hold a Title I meeting with the parents. Mr. Short will be introducing and holding that meeting, and then I'll come in and do that. We'll let you all know. Time and date for that has not been set yet, but we'll let you know when that Title I meeting will happen. So lots of busy budgeting going on with that.
All right, thank you. Systems and assessment supervisor, Justin.
Okay, so I'll start out with the first grant, the one the name was mentioning. I worked on 2 grants for us. That first one had to align to things that we were going to do in our continuous learning plan, our reopening plan, all of that. And of course, we're eligible for $40,000, like Amy said. With that, it's very specific to things around virtual and things around the teaching connected to virtual. So we looked at it, and there were some things that we were using in the CARES Act. Some of the funds we were using in the CARES Act to get some of the stuff we needed. So we shifted some of that over to this grant. So that freed up where the CARES Act grant was one of the only things that could pay for things like protective equipment and stuff like that. We wanted to make sure we had room for that. One of the things that we also could look at in this was providing a little something, and the way this grant was written, it was almost a little something for the teachers. And I worked with Jamie Corwin, who's the core office director, and how we could word this, because there was a section on there wasn't really a limit to it, but there was a section on there that talked about providing stipends to teachers. So I worked with Jamie on how do we word it, how do we make this work, and what we were able to budget in there based on the amount of money they gave us is for each teacher that is doing virtual teaching this school year, we were able to allocate to give them a $300 stipend. And Amy worked really hard on getting the numbers, so it worked out. They get the full $300. So like the things that have to come out, like the taxes and the Medicare, retirement, and all that was added in addition to that from the grant money. So they'll get a flat $300 check. That'll be part of the amendments and stuff, and all of that stuff you'll see next month to approve, and then we'll be able to start spending from that. We also looked at, because everybody, all the vendors I've tried to reach out to are having such a hard time getting Chromebooks and things, and we had tried to order those for our teachers to have to teach virtually, that was something that we were struggling to find anywhere. No one could get them to us. So one of the things we looked at was something that is available, webcams. They have microphones built into them so that they can hook to the teachers' computers here. So we're ordering those with stands. They have like goosenecks on them so they can turn them, set them up anywhere. 6-foot cords on them. So that's going to be part of that money as well. Let's see. Then, and special ed. Also part of the grant had to do with you have to monitor and address learning loss. And typically, the most learning loss is likely to occur in students with special needs. And so, again, working with Jamie Corwin, we wrote a thing into this grant to where part of the stipend would go towards the special ed teachers and what they're having to do to try to get those students back to where they were before they left, so that we make sure that we're addressing learning loss and potential learning loss there. The other grant, there was a grant the state offered called a 2-to-1 grant. And the way this one worked was, say you buy 3 Chromebooks, you pay for 2 of those Chromebooks with any funds you want to. Pay for one of those Chromebooks with state money from your regular budget, and the state would give you the money back for that one Chromebook. So for every 3 we bought, we got one back. And we had already budgeted in the CARES Act money to replenish some of our oldest student Chromebooks. And by doing that, we were able to pay for 2/3 of them with that portion of the CARES Act we already had budgeted. And then the 1/3 we're paying out of state funds, and then we'll get reimbursed. It's an $18,000 grant. So I worked on getting that one together too. So that's 180 devices that we're ordering with CARES Act money, and then 90 additional that'll be paid for out of this grant. And then as far as virtual learning goes, we had our supervisor study council where all 17 of the First Tennessee core region school systems, their supervisors meet together and discuss things that are going on. And this meeting that happened at the end of last week was focused on the idea of virtual learning and what are the different districts doing. And in listening to the different districts present and what they experienced in the first few days of getting virtual up and the first few weeks of school, it sounds like we experienced some of the same kinds of things and things that had us kind of nervous in the beginning, thinking, did we get this up and going right? Are we experiencing this because of something we did or something we forgot to do? It sounds like that's pretty much the same thing everybody experiences, what I was hearing in that meeting. And some of the things that some of the other districts are still dealing with and still having difficulties with have kind of subsided a little bit with us as we've gotten our legs and teachers have gotten more in the rhythm of using that 1 hour a day. And one of the things we talked about last month, at last month's meeting, was we worked on a schedule structure so that we could provide teachers that in grades 3 through 8 for their 4 periods of the day, and 3 of their periods would be with in-person students. And they would get the 4th period where they would have that off to do their virtual teaching or to put together the virtual lessons, whatever it may be. And part of that, we see a mixed model. In our more elementary grades, we see more of a live session where during that hour of the day, the students are more likely to be logged in, a live interaction with the teacher, like class, and that seems to be taking place more in our lowest grades. And then once you get to our middle grades, starting in about 6th grade, then we see more of a middle school / high school type model where the teachers are recording lessons and posting those. And then that way the student can go back and pause it, do what the teacher is explaining to do, go back and rewatch it if they need to on some of those more difficult concepts. But it also allows for the teacher to be available during that time. The lessons posted, but the teacher's available during that time if the students need to check in and have more of a one-on-one. So the teachers have virtual office hours during that time as well. And we've seen some grade levels do a little bit of a mix where they alternate different days, kind of the grades there in the middle, like 4th and 5th. Let's see, one more thing that I need to check with you all on. We have Joe Esway, the emergency management, I don't know, I can't remember what his full title is.
Director.
He organized where folks who are in elected capacities or people in our law enforcement. He organized a thing where those folks would get certified to be subs because they anticipated that in our community, both us and Cotton County Schools may have a situation where we have days that come up, depending on how things kind of pan out this year, where we can't find a sub, and we're in kind of a strain for that. And we would be able to call down and say, for instance, Mayor Dykes, we need somebody to come up and sit in a third grade classroom. It's an emergency. Could you come do that? If he were certified and got on the list, and he could come up and sit in for that teacher for the day. So, like I said, Joe Esley kind of put that kind of plan in motion. And I've had two folks so far, Derek Woods and Joe Esley, who've both gone through the certification training. I'm going to do another one of those later in, or at the beginning of next month, another virtual and an in-person to give them an option to do that. But a question came up that we do have some of our law enforcement that do want to potentially participate. And with our law enforcement, there's a mixture. There's going to be those who would be in uniform and those who wear street clothes. And the question came up of how do we feel about them carrying their sidearm? The comment was, you know, an officer in uniform, the kids aren't going to necessarily think much about it because they see like our SRO with that on. They see Sergeant Benson with his on. So seeing the uniform and the sidearm doesn't really set off triggers in the kid's mind. They expect that. But more in the plain clothes, that it could potentially do that. So one of the questions was, how does the board feel about in a situation like Derek Woods? He would be more plain clothes when he was up here. Would we want him to be allowed to carry his sidearm? Would we prefer that it be concealed because he can conceal? And one of the comments was that maybe we should consider, I'm going to let Dustin talk about this because he knows a little bit more about it, requiring that those who do be post-certified, and you want to explain to them what that is a little better?
What I gather, I'm not certified myself, because anybody can go get a concealed carry, but post-certified is, as a police officer, you have to do that, you have to be a police officer, and city officer, whatever, sheriff deputy, so they kind of have that higher level of training, so that was what I brought Justin an idea to kind of differentiate between just a regular sub carrying a firearm versus, you know, one of our sheriff deputies or chief deputy or deputy chief in the police department, whoever it might be, them in a normal law enforcement capacity still be able to carry their firearm. And they do, you know, I think it's 40 hours a year of continuous training as opposed to something like just an increment or less. That's their continuing education, whereas in Jewish slogans, concealed carry, he's going to renew it. So that was kind of a way we talked about to at least show that we are thinking about this from all, you know, all aspects, not just, yeah, you got to do carry. We don't want to give them the wrong impression.
And it was to essentially be responsible with it so that we know that we're not opening the door for anybody to say, well, I've got it, so I'm going to carry one on my hip, or I'm going to carry one concealed. They're not really having to carry for job purposes like these officers may have to do.
They would still be, they're still on their time.
Yeah.
They're not taking anything off of their job. Is the way Joe explained to us.
They're still on duty.
They're still on
Yeah.
duty.
And so they would need to have.
They're on load. They're on load.
They're still on duty, they're still required to carry their sidearm.
I think it's nice that they offer to do that.
Oh, I agree.
We get desperate at times. We get subs.
And they were the ones who brought it up and wanted to make sure that they had, basically they did what we felt comfortable with, that it wasn't that they were pushing something on us.
We thank you.
They're on duty. They need to carry the firearm.
I mean, that's my agreement. They're on duty. Even if they're in street clothes, I understand that. It would be explained to the children that this is officer or deputy so-and-so. that's in your classroom. And they would connect the two, because, I mean, in the event something happened, bank robbery, you know, something catastrophic, they would have to bail. I mean, they would have to leave immediately, and we'd be hunting somebody else, but they would need to go to their job. So, I mean, I'm with the standing of, with Mike, they're on duty, they gotta have their side on, it's part of it.
I agree. Also agree.
So just a general understanding that we'll explain to them that those that are on duty, that are officers, that's acceptable. Or like Ms. Burchett asked, do you want it to be a policy? Or is it fine just to be a general understanding?
I don't think we'd have to have a policy, I think it'd be a general understanding.
Okay.
And again, if you,
Part of the policy too, probably because, you know, who, why
I'll put
carry
it
the
in
firearm.
the minutes.
in the minutes,
that
I
you
think
all
there's
agree to,
100% agreement, unanimous agreement in the minutes, so that would
Okay.
cover us for that.
Gotcha.
I mean, I do, you know, and then them being post certified is also going to cover it.
Okay, I'll share that with Joe, so, and I'll make sure to share it when he comes through the training, so. And then the only last thing I have here is, for anyone on the board that wants to get a new, picture made for the yearbook, if you don't want to use the one you've already got, October 27th, there will be a, picture day in the gym, 8:30 to 11:30. That's our makeup and our sports picture day. We didn't have a date set before the last board meeting, so I wasn't able to tell you about the first day. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Treasurer's report, thank you. Really think about, a state of everything that I think would be of interest to you, except Health Star came to go through the clinic. I'm having Bobby to repair the walls and, you know, floors, wax down and everything. We are purchasing, I guess, 2 rooms, we're gonna see patients in. We'll have a nurse practitioner, a nurse, and then a receptionist here, and they'll be here every morning from 7:30 till 10:30. And they'll start in the middle of November. This will be under Candy Overton.
That was my next question, is this going to be on the team, Dr. O'Hope for overseeing?
And I'm kind of excited about that. They're going to send out flyers to the city employees because they can come and their families can come. And we'll get the information to our employees and their families. And of course, children can go. But I think that Candy probably is going to work on publicizing this to kind of build up more clientele because it was kind of dwindling down for so I hope it'll be a good thing. They came to check, they're gonna pay for the internet, and also for the phone service. We supply the building. And we're going to name it the Charlotte J. Meons Clinic. And, you know, in Health Star, when they answer the phone, they'll say, this is Health Star, I forget what they tell me, city or something. But we're gonna have a big sign over the door that says Charlotte J. Meons.
I think that's.
Because she really was an advocate.
I think it's very appropriate. She was the huge advocate to get them here in the beginning. I think that's a well earned honor. Okay, members. Lynn, you got anything?
Just a question for you guys. I had a couple of parents bring up that when they shuffle around talking about lunch periods, that the kids are telling they're a little short on time to eat. Has that been brought up to anybody or anybody else? We'll just check on that.
It happened Thursday or Friday, popcorn chicken. It was our first popcorn chicken day where everybody got to eat free.
Okay.
And since September 1st, we've had free eating, so it's been kind of a guessing game. You know, she used to have it down to science, but now with, you know, we've got decreased numbers, not everybody's eating free. She's seen almost 100 more. So it's starting to get consistent, but that popcorn chicken, mashed potatoes, and broccoli is like our #1 day here.
Okay.
So it was towards the end of the lunch period. I think it was Thursday or Friday. I think it was Friday. There were some So that's the first time that I'd seen since like the first day or two that we had a problem.
Was that with food shortage or time? He's saying time.
Well, it was,
Oh, both.
the food shortage, it wasn't short, they said
They
to cook
had
more.
to cook.
They had to cook more, yeah, we know really.
So you're waiting.
So they had to cook more in a hurry, it takes like, I think 12 minutes to cook popcorn chicken, so they go shovel it in fast enough, and I think the fifth graders had a similar problem because we don't have 2 groups to eat. So, but that's probably,
Okay, so we've addressed it.
yeah, I mean, it was like I said, it's just,
Okay.
they're guessing that, they don't want to have too much left over on Friday, because it's hard to keep them for the weekend.
Absolutely.
Now we want to be sure we fit with 400 kids.
No, no,
But
plus, you know,
I
staff.
guess really it's just getting an estimate by now, like we do the serving of the, in the spring. Of course, she'll know more the next time to have that ready ahead of time.
Like I said, it was, you know, we've done this for a while, but it was the first popcorn chicken day we had since the free.
And that's the most popular.
Thank you very much. I think that's all I have.
Just compliment you guys on such a heroic effort you guys have been putting forth here at the school and how many good things I've heard. And, it's great to see a group of teachers and administrators work so hard together to make something happen to benefit our community. You guys deserve a huge round of applause and a pat on the back. So thank you for all you're doing.
I agree.
I've got something you're gonna wait and say yours and then wait and get
I don't think I had was pretty much cancellation stuff, so.
I'd like to say, so I'm gonna take this off for a second. Like David said, I want to commend all the staff for, your hard work. As a former teacher here, and Linda can testify to this too, it's hard just to be a teacher for grammar school because of the expectations, what's expected of you. And I've talked to Sandy and Michael about this concern of mine about our virtual plan. And I'd like to see us inquire about an alternate plan. We're working these teachers up here like pack mules. They're working, they're having to teach their normal class, and they also have to teach the virtual students, and also having to help and teach the parents because the parents have no idea about how to operate computers. And I fully understand because if I was in that situation, they'd have to do it for me also. These teachers are working, they work not only in this planning time that they have to do this, but they have to work at night and also work on weekends just to get this done. And I really do commend them for that much effort. I'd like to see us inquire about, I know they have these virtual academies, because in these academies, that's all they deal with is virtual learning. And I've talked to Sandy. Sandy's mentioned something about some different alternate plans, and I think Michael did too, that we could use, instead of the teachers having to take all their time to do this virtual. It's like I say, it's hard and it's tough, and it's like I said, we're asking a lot of teachers that I don't think is really fair to do in this situation. It's hard enough even to do it with the social distancing and having to wear a mask and all this stuff that we're asking of them, but besides having to do the virtual class. And Justin, I'll tell you, I really want to appreciate your effort in getting stipends for the teachers, because I think that you're thinking of the teachers. But I'll be honest with you, I believe most of the teachers who do this would donate that stipend back if they didn't have to do this out of their pocket. So, that's like I say, that's my opinion. And I do wish we could inquire about and look into some other alternative methods of doing our virtual learning than what we're doing right now.
What we think we'll see is a large percentage of our virtual coming back on site after the first 9 weeks. And that is the time I think we'll step back. And we may need to reassess how it's instructed. I mean, the first 9 weeks kind of tried to just see how it was going to go. And I think we all said we're gonna have to wait around the first 9 weeks. Would you say that, Mr. Shaw? To just see
A
how
lot,
many.
a lot may change in terms of who's being served virtually.
And that opens up this week, this Thursday,
It's Thursday.
Thursday to Sunday.
And you're getting the certification too, when you,
Well,
a lot has been taken into consideration, and I do think the teachers have worked hard. And Vicki is up here one day helping us out. I know the custodians while they were out, and you all have offered to come up to help. It's been a learning experience this first 9 weeks. It's just really been a learning experience, but we're looking for a large percentage to be returning. And that may do some shift of responsibility.
David, do you have any insight on what the county's doing with their virtual?
We're
and how
struggling
you're doing?
also, and,
Are you having to teach virtual?
I have virtual students, I send stuff too. We basically have virtual every week too. It's a combination of things, but what we're trying to do, we were fortunate recently, they bought us a new program that allows us to have more online structured learning that's tied to our standards. It's not just turn it loose thing, but it certainly creates all that information that you need to send out and has some accessibility in it so you can find out where they're at, reports back to you, what their scores are. That streamlines it quite a bit, and I don't know what you guys are you guys using Admin or are you on, what are you using virtually?
No, we don't have a virtual.
We're using Google Classroom for our teachers to teach the same material that they are teaching their in-person students with adjustments, so that they can adjust, based on what couldn't necessarily be done at home. That type of thing.
There's a quite a few programs being launched right now to assist in this virtual learning. The one I'm using is called, I think it's called My ICEB. It's structured towards CTE programs. Wow, it's a game changer because I have the videos, I have the activities, I have the assessments, and all I gotta do is figure out how to get them to do it all. That's a whole different story.
Well, and again, it's, the county is still struggling with having Chromebooks. We've got the Chromebooks. But we've got them in the kids' hands. The county does not have it all in the kids' hands.
I think the silver lining here is that everybody is having to learn something they didn't know, and that's what we're in the business of doing, is educate people. So, from the standpoint of maybe it's not working right now, I think that's the process, and as we get better, the more we learn every day on virtual, it's going to make us stronger, better educators. I guess the bad part for the students will be more snow days. And,
That's
and we won't have to worry about working them into our schedule. And I think it's the future. We need to keep slowly marching that way. And my suggestion is what my plan is to do in the classroom is to teach virtually in the classroom. They'll sit in the classroom and I'll use a virtual format. They pull out their smartphones, log into this program I'm using, and so when they go home, it'll be the same. I think that's one way I'm looking at it. I want to teach them in the class as if it was a virtual class.
There's the CTE, this program that you're talking about.
Yeah, the one I'm using.
Not necessarily.
But I think any teacher should be working that way, because any day now, this pandemic's not going away. Don't seem to be anyway by the numbers, and so we should be taking advantage of this time. Students you have in class, I'd recommend you teach them on virtual format.
And we've encouraged all of them to really start implementing. As you say, you never know.
We need to be prepared.
when
So for
you-
instance, we're taking the fall break, we'll have a whole week virtual. So the kids won't be off, the teachers will be teaching virtual.
But will it truly be virtual?
It will be virtual, and since we're putting out the information and, we're doing what we can to get them up to speed, a lot of these kids are adapting a lot faster than we are.
But my thing is what I'm talking about is I just don't want it to be, handing out packets.
So we're teaching online science, mostly. But those who don't have the smartphone or the device, we're trying to fill that in with getting that particular student. We're doing more of we just did a survey today about who doesn't have those abilities, so we can get them a Chromebook that we have. We're like you guys were still waiting on our big shipment. We can roll out and have everybody be able to be on the same format. But, no, we're struggling too. I think all educators are. I don't think anybody's really ready for going to a true virtual program. But there's gains being made. The teachers are getting smarter and the kids are getting smarter about it.
The only thing I had was, the, October 19th will be our next meeting. The convention has been canceled. If you have not gotten your email or checked your email, the state convention. It's gonna be the first one I had to miss because of a very important date. So now I'm not gonna actually have to miss it. It was one of the things she actually worried about when she was trying to schedule her wedding date, was, Mommy, you'll miss the convention. I thought, really? I don't think we need to worry about that. It'll be the biggest day of your life, so. Then October 27th, because part of the convention each year is a delegate meeting. That delegate meeting is going to be, it's kind of like what it says, it's the delegates from each board meet together, and Linda has graciously taken one spot, and Mickey is taking the other. I normally had sat on it with Mickey. Charlotte had always done it with Linda. We try to sort of rotate it around, but during the middle of the day, it's going to be a Zoom, so I can't ever always guarantee that I'm near a computer the way I travel to work. So Linda and Mickey will be doing that on October 27th during the day. I'm assuming it'll be a Zoom or a GoToMeeting format.
We'll be okay if we keep up here.
Sure. But that's all I have.
In my office, but I have mine set it up with just set it
Well, I should be able to send you Newport.
one of those wild ones.
But I appreciate that. Nothing else before the board with this? Go right on into the meeting. Thank you. Thank God for this, right? Okay, we'll go ahead and start the meeting. Call the meeting to order. Flag behind us. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All members present, all administrative staff present. First thing on the agenda is the consent agenda to approve the August 17th minutes. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
And there was a second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Then we will move right on into the business agenda. To approve the following 2021 membership in Cognia that was originally referred to as Advanced Ed. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Give the motion to Mike, and I'll give David a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hat Day fundraiser to assist with the cheerleaders at expenses. The planned day is October 2nd, 2020. Got a motion? I'll make a motion. Got a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Athletic department, I think Rhonda Williams would like to do, to sell the NGS mask. I think it's on the same pretense as what we're wearing. Similar, not maybe identical. Similar to what we have been given, but not exactly maybe, and to use the money generated from the sales to purchase equipment for the sports teams. The cost of the mask will range between $8 and $10, and the fundraiser will begin on approval of those. So do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Got David. Sorry, I heard him out of this here first. David, with a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Athletic Department recommending to the board to approve the purchase of a digital score table from Booster Digital Displays. They had the lowest bid, you'll see your bids listed, BSN, Varsity, and Booster. They came in quite significantly under. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Uh,
Any opposed? Safe Schools Act budget for 2021. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion.
Do I have a second?
second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Kristen Ray's resignation effective September 18th of 2020. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? This was omitted from the August meeting, and I want to apologize. Warriors Hiking Club to be a school-sponsored club, and Erica Jones is the sponsor, and I just overlooked it last meeting, and I want to apologize for that publicly to Erica. I think it's a great club for her to do, and she's got plenty of, I think she's got a lot of the adult supervision and helping get our kids outside. But it was omitted, and that's my apology. So, do I have a motion that it becomes, the club, hiking club becomes a school-sponsored club?
Make a motion.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Uh,
Any opposed? And then Christina Liz to the NETCO meeting, Johnson City, Tennessee, October 21st, 2020. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Anything else to come before the board? Public record again, I think we all want to say thank you. Thank you to the teachers, thank you to the staff, thank you to the administration for all your hard work. Literally every day is a jungle and ever changing, so thank you for everything. Anything else?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Adjourn.